Okay, guys, so we have been successful in reading our book, Frozen Dreams, or article Frozen Dreams. And with that said, we are going to do a quick review and we're going to dive into the central idea. So, as you see, I've already found the central idea of the text. But what I wanted us to do is find the details that supported the central idea. Now, if you've watched the videos previously where we were able to find the main idea of each section, we're now going to take all those information we had and combine them together to find the central idea, which is what the entire text is about. To find the central idea, which is what the entire text is about, as well as details supporting this. So we know that this text was about Mr. Henson, who his dream was to go discover the world, like to travel the world. And with that said, as an African American, he first ventured out where he was able to listen to a speech that he got from Frederick Douglass here, and that from then he made up his mind that he wanted to discover the world. But then we look into the section where he talked about fierce ambition, where he talked about him not giving up on his dreams. And this was where he met a very ambitious person called Mr. Prairie, who was a white person who had just similar dreams as him to be able to discover. And they wanted to plan their trip to go to Greenland. And this was when they started their planning. And here it says blubber and blood in this subheading here. It talks about how they set out to go to Greenland, and they made it to the Kingdom of Ice, which is what they call the North Pole. But it says they were still 700 miles from the North Pole because they were in Greenland here. They were successful in getting where they wanted to go. It was extremely cold because it is the North Pole. It also talks in this section here where in Frozen Toes talk about the hazardous condition that they had to go through to get to where they wanted. And it said that finally in 1909, it seemed that their dream would in fact come through. And out here, out of the shadows, it talked about how, even though they did it together, only Prairie got the credit for discovering the North Pole, and Henson was not recognized until 1988 when his body was moved. By then, he had died when his body had moved to Arlington National Cemetery, where he was then recognized for being a co-discoverer of the North Pole. So that is just a gist of the article that we did. So now that we know the central idea, because the article was about Henson and how he helped, as it says here, how he helped to discover what would take decades for him to do here. So I said the central idea is no matter how many obstacles in Henson's path, he was determined to see the world. And we're going to look at some of these obstacles. So it started out with because he was an African American male, that it started out with him doing odd jobs. So he was doing odd jobs because he wasn't qualified to do anything else. It also said here that you know he wasn't as qualified for the job, but Prairie liked the fact that he had worked in other places before when he was working on that ship. Now, because Henson was eager to escape, he did it. It also said here that they began planning, and together in when they got there in 1981. So detail one, he got odd jobs. He was able to leave, and work on a ship. This was one way for him to get closer to where he wanted to be. The second detail in this text said that once under fierce ambition, when he met Prairie, they started planning to go to the North Pole. So once he met Prairie here, the plan began to, go to the North Pole. And it says that he was not qualified because during this time an African American did not get the qualifications that, they weren't going to school and all that, but he was still determined to travel. So there we go. So he got through a lot of obstacles, but he still didn't care. Now it says here that in Frozen Toes that, he even got lost. So in detail 3, it says that he got lost. In blizzards, which did not hinder him. He didn't give up. He nearly starved. And he still did not give up. It also said that his toes got frozen. He lost some toes, but he was fine. And with because of all this, his determination, he was able in detail 4 to finally make it to the North Pole, make it to see his dreams come through. In 1909, and was in detail 5, was recognized for it, for his work. So he was recognized for his work in 1988. So this just gives you guys an overview of what the central idea is. The central idea focuses on the entire article. If you guys notice, once I came up with what the article was about in my head, I then went back to the text to find all the details that supported what I was trying to say. And this is what I expect for you guys to do in your own text.